Hey, good morning, everybody. We're going to get started on Discovery Reading. Today's a cool day. I gotta make sure you can see this polar bear. We're going to be talking about animals from the Arctic and the Antarctic and kind of do some comparison and just kind of learn where each one is. But while everybody's logging on, I'll read through a couple times the titles of our books. And we're reading both of these books with permission from Penguin Random House Publishing. So the first one that we're going to be reading is conveniently titled Penguins, and it is by Joy Bean and it's illustrated by Christopher Santoro. And the next book that we're going to read is called Welcome to the Ice House by Jane Yolen, and it's illustrated by Laura Reagan. So again, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Can you guess where we are in the museum? Do you know what part we're in? It's a little dark up here today, and if you hear some rough noises in the background, our muralist is working on that awesome mural that's coming in for the Utah's Diversity exhibit upstairs, so he's working away, so don't worry about that. Let's see. So again, for those who are just tuning in, the first book that we're going to be reading is called Penguins, and it is by Joy Bean, and it's illustrated by Christopher Santoro. And the second book that we're going to be reading is called Welcome to the Ice House, and it is by Jane Yolen, and it's illustrated by Laura Reagan. And both of these books we're reading with permission from Penguin Random House Publishing. So we'll give people just a couple more seconds to log on, and then we'll get started, because we know some of our friends watch these almost live, but not quite, so we'll try to catch the comments as they come in. Okay. I think we'll get started and read our first book. So again, officially, this book is called Penguins. It's by Joy Bean and illustrated by Christopher Santoro, and we're reading it with permission from Penguin Publishing House. Penguins live all over the world, most of them in cold places, but some of them live where it is very warm. So you can see here we've got the Galapagos penguin, the chinstrap penguin, the macaroni penguin, and the Adelie penguin. Penguins are birds, but they can't fly. They have flippers instead of wings. They use their flippers to glide or fly through the water. The largest of all penguins is the emperor penguin. Emperor penguins can weigh as much as 90 pounds and be up to 4 feet tall. They are covered with black and white feathers except for the small patches of orange feathers near their head. Emperor penguins live in Antarctica. It is cold there all year long. In the winter, it can get as cold as 100 degrees below zero. Brr. During winter's chilliest months, the mother penguin lays a single egg. As soon as she lays the egg, the mother carefully rolls it onto the father penguin's feet, right underneath his warm belly. Once the egg is tucked in tight, the mother heads out to sea to fill her own belly with fish, squid, and shrimp-like creatures called krill. Emperor penguins make their nests inland, so the mother penguin will travel up to 60 miles to get to the sea. She'll stay out at sea until she has eaten enough to keep her belly full for several months. Back on land, the father stands with the egg on his feet for just over 2 months. He won't eat until the egg hatches. When the wind becomes strong, all the father penguins huddle together to keep themselves warm. They must be careful not to let their eggs touch the ice, or the cold will kill the baby penguin inside. When the egg hatches, the mother returns from the sea with food for her hungry chick. The newborn penguin is just 6 inches tall and has only a thin layer of feathers. The mother holds the chick on her feet and under her belly, just like when it was inside the egg. This shields the chick from the wind and the cold. parents take turns caring for the chick and going to the sea for food. Now it's the father's turn to eat, and he's hungry. To make his trip out to sea quicker, he slides on his belly towards the water. The baby chick grows quickly. When she's 4 months old, she already has begun to grow her adult feathers. She's old enough to be left alone now, so both of her parents head out to sea for food. While they're gone, the chicks keep warm by snuggling with other nearby chicks. When the parents return from the sea, they call out to their chick by making a trumpeting sound. The chick recognizes their call and runs out to meet them. By the time the chick's 6 months old, she's ready to head out to sea for herself. Splash! She jumps into the icy water and swims off to find friends and food. She's all grown up now, and someday she'll have a chick of her own. Awesome. So one question that I have for those who are here is, do penguins and polar bears live in the same place? We often see that on TV or in the Coke commercials, that they're together, hanging out together on the ice. Do they live in the same place? We'll think about that. First, we're just going to talk about penguins. Okay, this is our penguin that we have at the museum. This is a black-footed penguin. Like our book said, we have penguins that live in warm places and penguins that live in cold places. So this penguin is actually from South Africa, and scientists aren't even exactly sure how many types of penguins there even are. They're for sure that there are 18 to 20 different species of penguins, but they're not sure exactly how many there really are. We'll bring this penguin close so you can see him. And he's called the black-footed penguin. He's got these little black feet. He has really cool feathers. We're kind of in low light here, so I don't know if you'll be able to see them very well, but they're in the light. They're kind of bluish black, and then there's some lighter brown parts as well. Again, the tallest and biggest penguin is the emperor penguin, like was said in the story. And they're also really strong penguins. They can be underwater and swimming for 20 minutes straight, which is so cool. The fastest swimming penguin is the Gentoo penguin. And something else that's really interesting is that no penguins naturally live above north of the equator, except for the Galapagos penguin. They're the only penguin that naturally crosses the equator and moves north above the equator. So that's really cool. They're the only one that naturally does it. Obviously, we know that there are some that are north of the equator, right? Because we have penguins in zoos and all around, but yeah, the only one that naturally goes above that equator is the Galapagos penguin. So again, back to that question of whether or not polar bears and penguins live in the same place. The answer is no, they don't. Penguins, again, are below. They're, for the most part, except for that Galapagos one, south of the equator, and polar bears are in the north. So they're in the Arctic, and these penguins are in the Antarctic. So, a few things that are pretty cool about polar bears. They are a huge bear. And in 2006, scientists actually did a cross between a grizzly bear and a polar bear called the polar grizzly. But this was a genetic cross that they did, so not a naturally occurring bear. Polar bears are not very successful when it comes to hunting. They only actually land less than 2% of their kills are successful. Oh, Dan's asking if we could see the feathers up close again. Yeah, we can. We'll do it right now. We're in pretty low light, so I don't know how well you'll be able to really see them. But yeah, and they look quite slick, and I would say that's more so from kids petting him, but okay, last thing I want to tell you about polar bears really fast. We've seen this fur before, and we've got our polar bear behind us right here, is that polar bears can smell their prey for up to a kilometer away. So that's about 0.7 miles away they can smell their prey. So that is amazing. And this polar bear behind us isn't actually as big as they really can be. They can be far bigger than this one. So there's our polar bear. And so now that we've talked about polar bears a little bit, we're ready for this book called Welcome to the Ice House. And it is by Jane Yolen, and it is illustrated by Laura Regan. And again, we're reading this with permission from Random House, Penguin Random House Publishing. Welcome to the Ice House, the snowy and wintry below house where shades of white illuminate the lengthy winter nights. Where well below the snowscape caper lemmings in long tunnels racing through the runnels to escape the singular Arctic fox on the prowl. Or the howling wolf pack sniffling out the track of snowshoe hare and ptarmigan white as winter tide. But beware. Beware, for behind stalks a lynx, now quick, now slow, now silent as snow. But all give way, fox, lemming, lynx, hare, to a ton of unpredictable moose on the loose. Or the hungry, tireless polar bear. Yet this is not just a landscape of snow, blue sky above, ice below. The Arctic seas are blue and black. Beyond the ice cracked swim gray and brown seals, spotted seal, ring seal, and harp. And slickly black, sleekly white, hunting through the lengthy Arctic night, such as an arrow's arc along the ocean trails. South of the ice come the streamlined killer whales. Here too swim dense herds, immense herds of baggy skin, saggy skin, rust-colored walrus, strutting ivory tusks for defense. Above in the sky, falcon sails down below, beluga whales singing like giant birds, welcoming the return of a moment of spring. For, as if on a single day, spring and summer return together. The weather softens, warms, and swarms of poppies and lupine burst open, grow, an explosion of color where once grew only ice and snow, then caribou with hooves like thunder cross the tundra. And the grizzly rises from its winter nap, grubbing roots and grabbing voles and other small mammals from their holes. Birds return too, to iceless lakes and snowless cliffs, swans, puffins, loons, and Arctic terns, who journey from pole to pole to rest, to nest. So these ones are the puffins. And then, brief moment, summer is gone, winter comes again and lingers on and on and on. In the cold house, the ice house, the snow and wintry blow house, welcome to the ice house and the long winter nights. So those are the northern lights. That's Aurora Borealis. We normally have it playing behind us at this part of the museum. Perfect. So we're going to talk about a couple of the animals that were in this book. We talked about the wolf in this book. This is the pelt of a gray wolf, and it's very big. If its feet were touching, this is its feet nearly touching the ground, and its tail, or its head actually, it's almost as tall as me. This hair is a few inches long as well. You can see my fingers can go pretty deep inside of it. So it's this really beautiful coat. In the Arctic, there is actually a specific Arctic wolf. Long ago, the gray wolf would have been up there as well, but because of this awesome fur, they have been very, very hunted. They were very widespread all throughout the northern hemisphere, but their numbers have dwindled a lot in Europe and Asia over time. We have them in 48 states, but they're not the most, they're not the hugest population. They've been hit hard by hunters in the United States as well. But yes, this is the gray wolf. We'll let you see kind of the colors of this a little bit closer. You can see some parts are black, some are white, and some are gray. Lastly, we wanted to show you one of the coolest animals and one of the most elusive animals of the Arctic, which is the Arctic fox. And fittingly, I had to go downstairs into our freezer this morning, which is negative 20 degrees, and get our Arctic fox out of there. The Arctic fox is super resilient for many reasons, but we can look at its body. It has little tiny, his eyes still have a little bit of ice on them, so it's a little scary. His ears have rounded edges, so they don't stand up very pointy tall. He has very short legs and even a shorter tail than most of other mammals of this size, and that just helps decrease his surface area so that he can maintain heat. They are said to have one of the strongest and most resilient pelts in the Arctic. They have been seen to be in places that are negative 70 degrees Celsius. So this is a very resilient animal. They're quite solitary and they're very, very elusive, so they're really hard to see. And they're also quite small. They're not as big as the fox you might see here in Utah. Try to see if you can see that fur up close. Their fur can change with every season, and so it's said that they also can have 4 different colors of furs throughout the year as they adapt with the weather that comes in the season. So again, this is part of the reason why they're so elusive and also so resilient in their environment. So so this is the Arctic fox. If anybody has any questions about that, they're welcome to put them in the chat and we can answer them later as well. But thanks for everybody who was watching. It says, does the Arctic ox? It does change with the seasons. Good question. Thanks for everybody for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week. Tomorrow there's going to be a Life Science Live at 11, so tune into that. It's going to be really good. But again, thanks for watching, and for those who are watching it for the second time or later when we're not live, you can still again comment your questions, and that'll be good. So thanks you guys.